Hello, hello, again, hello. I said it already once, but of course, like 2012, this is the year of the most common sentence to be your mic is muted or something like that. Um, I do want to start with telling you that this is on purpose. I did clean my teeth in the morning, but I'm transforming into a robot this day with the talks and everything digitalized. So I hope you're not bothered. If I move, you're even seeing me better. Thanks so much for taking the time to join my talk. There is one in parallel bio SEO, but mine will be more interesting. Don't tell him, please. And yeah, today we'll talk. We'll debate to see if the web is really accessible. And I use this rea11y as a shortcut because accessibility is most of the time written as rea11y. It's literally the first and last letter and the number of letters in between. And ally felt really, really similar. So I wanted to play this joke with you all. I am Ioana Kioran, and I'm a project manager at Cognizant Softvision. I'm also a community lead for the QA community within the company, and I'm a former team lead on this side. So definitely testing is something that is very close to my heart, and I'm very, very happy to talk with you about this today. I volunteer a lot after work, both to Mozilla, where I do spread the word about how web should be for everyone and open and accessible, and also an educator with the European Commission, where I do volunteer for a Code Week, which comes now in October. If you want to learn more about this, you can always reach out to me. I'm also on Twitter at Ioana_CIS. Yes, those letters are really fun, CSI. And I work for more than 10 years on devices. Why this is relevant, you will see it soon. I wanted to start with a really, really big question for you all. And that is, if you know, yeah, I added that text there, but if you were really aware that 1 billion people around this world, which is 1/7, has accessibility issues of any kind and any level. Of course, I'm not mentioning those that have really a significant one. The number is a bit low. But when I wrote this really big number on my slides, which I hope you see fine because I put them now on full screen, I realized that there are a lot of zeros included. I did not expect it, to be honest. I was like, aren't they a bit too many? And it shocked me really when I found out this, especially because this talk is more related to me because I was in a case where I didn't see something. And trust me, like Sheldon said, I was tested. I did test my eyes, even if my name is Kioran, which in Romanian kind of translates with the blind one. I did test them and I see well. But unfortunately, when the Eurostar conference, I was missing the name, Eurostar conference tweeted about their prices, and I wanted to buy a ticket to the conference, I realized that I literally did not see the categories. And I tweeted them back and I saw like, hey, I guess no one tested the accessibility of the page, the color contrast. And they were literally telling me back, what do you mean? We don't see any issue. And I told them, I'm not sure if many people will understand what category of tickets are you selling. And they were like, oh my God, nobody saw it. The funny part is that when I do share this news with more people, everybody tells me that if I wouldn't mention, nobody would have seen that it's the first around here, there is a line in the table with really, really low contrast. So nobody could see the category of prices. And come on, we talk about 2K euros. It's not something cheap. You would have expected a bit more. So I realized back then that literally having or not a disability and accessibility issue, to be more specific, is not something very easy to certify or to understand how much it impacts you, because you literally do not know what you mean. And unfortunately, as Sarah says, all people over the course of their life traffic between times of relative independence and dependence. One other example for this is when you travel, either by plane or by metro, which of course these days we do it way less than before. You do have connectivity issues, for example, and you come with an accessibility issue. You have offline mode or not to an app. So different things that while you have literally no disability, you are affected by the products being constructed for full-time connectivity, full-time access, I would say. So yeah, I decided back then that it's something that if it affects me, probably affects even more. Again, I was tested, had nothing. So I wanted to give chances for those really impacted by this to have a voice, for them to open up more the awareness on their side. And this quote was nice to me because you definitely can fly, even with a plane with a dead engine, but you cannot fly if you do not have the knowledge behind. So I started learning more about it. I'm sorry that the slide might not be the cutest one ever, but these things are very hard to explain without not having it in the background. The most met disabilities are the vision disability, psychical disability, cognitive disability, literacy disability, and hearing, impairing hearing, it's called disability. I wanted to really let them out there for you to be able to read them, even screenshot if you're seeing this online, of course, or take a picture and try to learn more about it and see how much they affect the level of you have not hearing it a bit or not hearing at all. It's also a very different experience. So even if you do have one of these, the impact is really based on the level of the disability. You know, many people wear glasses just for watching something online or just to see in the distance. So in many times they oscillate between having an accessibility issue or not having it at all. So in that case, after I've learned more about it and trying to understand how are these things affecting us day to day, I talk to people. And as I mentioned earlier, I do a lot of volunteer work, especially in the web field. And I really like that the web should not discriminate at all. The web should be for everybody and should give them access, especially in these times. I'm not even going to mention the monstrosity of the days, but especially in this time, everybody enters remotely. And we see a lot of people that join internet from their phone directly. They do not have the laptop experience. They do not have the connectivity to a big device. So definitely their experience is limited to what we offer them through the web or through our apps. Even desktop ones, I mean, I'm totally including everyone, but definitely the experience of what web for them is based on how we deliver that to them. And if you're asking, okay, Ioana, but why we should do that? Because it's still only 1 in 7 people, maybe it's not that much. I don't know, maybe in your surrounding, in your own, you know how Facebook call them these bubbles, nobody's affected, but definitely we should do this for the people. In one of my talks yesterday about unconscious bias, I did mention that it is in our power to change the world, even if it's not necessarily our fault that things are bad. So changing something that you have the voice and the power for it will definitely empower others too. I have added there an example. Probably most of you saw the ramps that are used mostly for a person with movement disability, the physical ones that they use a wheelchair, but those are also used by bikers, by mothers with strollers. So one thing that was probably addressing a certain limited number of people now helps way more because it's implemented for the greatest good. In the same thing, in the same way, we also can think about other solutions, even the remote work nowadays, work from home. It was mostly impacting those who had no access to an office or in the big cities, or they had to travel a lot. And now those, guess what? We all take advantage of things implemented directly for them, even if we can still now, I don't know, maybe make it to the office in certain parts or certain companies. So always think about the bigger picture, the greatest good at the end of the day. Something that fixes for a certain category of people definitely will be benefited by more of them. Second, regulations. I know we live in different countries, different continents, different needs, and our countries are governed by very different parties all around the world. And funny to say that most of the people will be like, oh, I didn't check for accessibility because there are no regulation in place. Yeah, if you go to the web W3C page where these regulations are specified and also shown around the world, you will see that most of the countries you will have users in have a certain degree of regulation. And the last one adopted the 2.0, it's in the bigger city with bigger countries with a lot of users. So definitely you should be more careful and check for sure where your users are from. Probably having them in US will see you be in a lot of trouble if you're not having them implemented in literally all the way possible as they ask for it. And we are going back to users. Okay, we have regulation, we want to be good, but who really uses your apps? Who really uses your web pages? One funny misunderstanding when we look at data sets is that we are definitely looking in the wrong way. I've added here the picture for survivorship bias, which is a story from the World War II, when they tried to improve the planes in the battlefield, and they thought that if they look at the planes, they come back, but they are hit by different bullets, and they will make stronger the parts that are hit by bullets. They will have a better chance to win this war. Unfortunately, they were really looking at the wrong data set of users. They should have looked at those that never came back, the planes they were crashing. Those parts attacked with the engine dead or with the, the tail, the coordinate system, the GPS affected. Those should have been empowered stronger, made stronger to survive in the next phase. Those that returned already had those in place. So sometimes make a step back and really, really question if you're looking at the right, correct set of users. You can check more about this. It's definitely also applied in many cases nowadays. And probably if you don't have users somewhere, that's a good question for you to ask it. Who are we missing? Why this category of users are not using my app? Why these people never look at my product? It is because probably they don't have access or they are not able to use it properly, so they just ditched it away. Other reasons that are probably less important for me necessarily, so, but I wanted to mention them because probably will impact you more, is the return of investment, the ROI mentioned there. How much time you invest and how much thing you get in back, be the money, revenue, whatever. It's a bit of tricky question. It should not be necessarily a point of decision for you. You should definitely train always for have bigger and better. I mean, better programming, bigger usage. And those definitely only depend on you. Once you invest this, it propagates. Another good thing in this system of systems, that once we fix something, it propagates through all the systems that we already use. So the good benefit of implementing something correctly will add value in all our systems that use the beginning one, the first one. And another note, especially if you're in a testing area, it's that most of the times we do add bugs like, oh, something is not working from accessibility point. Oh, this is a contract score or something. And developers do add the tag for them. If you're a developer, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's just that maybe you're not using it. They add the tag of enhancement. It should not be treated as an enhancement. It is a bug. If it's not implementing, it's not something nice to have. It's the way it should have been. So it is a bug. It's not an enhancement. You are not doing anyone's favor. It should be nice from our side to give them the fair and correct experiences online with everyone else. And the last, probably not least, because there are way more to talk about on this stuff, but last here to mention is the innovation side. You always want your product to be innovative, to bring more users, to give better experiences, to be catchy and useful for people, to enhance their online life, we say. So definitely look always to innovate and change things, even if they are not yet trending. Sometimes people choose trending stuff, which I don't understand. We should do them correctly, not necessarily they are trending or not, but be ahead of times and implement it correctly. So what are the major issues that we have on the accessibility side? And again, going to W3C site and also lots of articles online that started this issue in the last years, we see that the top 6 are very, very easy fixes, are intuitive to make, and it should not require so much investment in our side to learn them. It's just, again, fix it once and after that it propagates. Low contracts. And we can see that the percent of pages that have this misunderstand, or of course, you cannot understand what is written, even increased in 2020. of course, everything goes wrong this year, so we cannot have high expectations for this one either, right? Missing alternative text for images. This is simply, again, due to the connectivity or maybe to rendering engine for your browser, respectively on your machine. Sometimes your experience is impacting and images load really, really bad. I hate when, and hate is a really strong word, I know, but I hate when I load a page and I'm missing, you know, pictures or even videos and somebody else has it. And you're like, why didn't it even mention this, you know, an alternative text? If the picture doesn't load, at least I know there should be a nice, I don't know, dog picture, cute puppy or something. And I will still laugh, I will still smile. I know that something is loading and I will wait for it. But if you don't see anything there, you're just gonna scroll and leave the page because you're missing a lot. Same for empty links or missing form input labels. I really, really think it's the worst of not having a proper label for an input when you want to enter something and you don't know exactly what's there and you're confused what to write. Also, some browsers don't take your historical form input and you're like in between, should I write here my name? It's the city, it's a pre-filled one. It's very confusing for users, and sometimes I would even say most of the times they drop using it because it's just, they don't understand. It's too much for them. They don't know what to do. I'm like, fine, I'll try another one. And same the last two, empty buttons and missing document language. One more that is missing here, but it's also very easy to fix, in my opinion, is when most of the programming side of users do use only their keyboard to navigate and they just go with Alt-Tab and everything, and it's just not implemented. It's very easy when you have, especially in the header, a list of buttons to have this implemented so someone can easily scan it to see everything in the menu, you know, to see the map of your website. Of course, the same goes with products or apps. It's easier if you can access everything from the menu with keyboard also. So let's move a bit on the testing side. We learn now what accessibility is, how it looks, why are the reasons to change this in the future. Let's see how easily we can do it. I don't want to mention that this is a very basic presentation, just an intro, and it's definitely a starting point for you to bring back in your team and ask them if they do this already, or if not, when you can start doing it, and hopefully that's tomorrow. It does address also the developer side, so you can either do it as a tester, either as a developer. Honestly, it would be nice the developer does some checking too, because it's easier and less consuming time. But on the QA side, it's also easy to implement. So at least one of that can be the hero at the end of the day. I'll tackle more the developer tools audit, but fixing the issues that I mentioned in the table previously is these things that we can check for: color contrast, pattern and colors. A lot of people think that if they put a pattern behind it nicely, or they look more, I don't know, fancy from the design side, but most of the time it's very tiring for those with a vision disability and they literally do not understand it. Typography. A funny story, I mentioned the Comic Sans because I know it's an unpopular opinion. I'm also on that side. I don't like Comic Sans, but it seems that for those with dyslexia, it is the easiest font for them to understand. This is not a preach to use Comic Sans, definitely not. But it is asked from my side to try to use better fonts, to those that are more clear, not so, I don't know, scripting or very fancy drawing sometimes, because you're not sure if it's a text or if it's a drawing by someone. Try to be clear, the fonts that you use to be already adopted in order for the machines to be able to either read them or translate to some other font if not match on the other's machine. You know, the popular thing is works fine on a machine, it works fine for my pair of eyes. It definitely not gonna match all users that you have. Animations. Being a speaker and attending talks is always a debate if you want to use GIFs or not in your talk. It's definitely more fun and engaging, but unfortunately, as we do not know who's in our audience, we might impact those who have issues understanding GIFs or movement. The same goes with audio. If you start something, play be sure that the sound level is a decent one and it's not going to scare people or affect those with hearing impairing. Maybe it's less transmitting besides a GIF, maybe with a meme is not the same thing, but if you use them, do put a disclaimer there, try to tell people what to expect. I love GIFs, definitely I love them, and I enjoy a good one all the time. It's always on my media apps and my messaging apps, but I do try to be conscious when I do not know the audience, the type of people I'm talking with, not to bother them. And unfortunately, probably many impacted by this. Same goes with the semantic. Nowadays, it's very easy to scan for the accessibility tree and see whatever matches the product you have, the web page, and if everything is easy to jump from one side to another, to go along and easy to access. If not, again, try the navigation menus by the keyboard, and you should find very easily the issues there. Everything that I mentioned here can be easily scanned to audit, so it's not necessarily an extra work from your side to, I don't know, learn them by heart or anything. And I had Stefan, a developer who is based in Berlin and does a lot on the accessibility side. He even has a newsletter on this. Held a talk last year in Cognizant Softvision about accessibility, and one of my questions towards him was how much time he invested learning all about accessibility in order to make his product consistently accessible. And he was literally smiling, replying back, saying like, Ioana, it's just like you add a new library, or just like you add something new. You learn it once, apply it, and after that, as I mentioned earlier, it propagates. You don't have to literally do documentation all the time, investigation and everything. Once you adopt the style of developing with accessibility things in, you can definitely just propagate and use it more. So I'm going to add here some of the tools that I use in this talk. I did create a page specifically for accessibility for us in order to be easier to access, and I do invite you to check developer.mozilla.org, which is the MDN that everyone in the developing world uses. Chrome developers, IE developers, Edge developers, they are all in a consortium building the documentation over to developer.mozilla.org. If you want to find out more tips and tricks, I'll show you how easy it is to access them in a sec. So I'm going to try to do now literally a demo, which most of the times doesn't work that easy, but nevertheless, trying it's always nice. So I'm gonna just share some other browser. And for those who know that I love Firefox and I said I contribute to Mozilla and you saw me on Chrome, presenting from Chrome is just because Chrome and the, Google Drive, especially spreadsheets, have the accessibility issue with caption, which is not yet implemented for Firefox. So, sorry, we adapt. So, as I showed you there, with just a shift, and in my case also Fn and 12, I get to accessibility screen. Or if it doesn't work, you just go to web developer and open the accessibility tab. It should look like this. And if we go to check for issues, we can see that we can even check what issues, what type of issues we are looking for: contrast, keyboards, this is the navigation element, or text levels. I'm interested in every little one of issues that I see. Oh, and we have some in the headings. Let me see if you see 12. Statistic text not correctly, and I'm trying to move, but it seems it's a bit awkward jumping. You can see that it mentions that for first name, in our case, the contrast is 1.71, which is extremely well. On the right side, in the accessibility panel, you'll see that if it should be over 3, it's AA. Now we are not there. So I'm gonna try to go and change it. But I'm gonna also shift around the other issues, errors that I get, just for you to easily see how doing these audits can, one, show you the errors, second, give you links. If you see under the color and contrast that it's mentioned does not meet the WCAG standards, and learn more, which literally opens an MDM page where they explicitly tell you what contrast is, what are the types we should look for. I'm gonna try to open that too in a bit. Okay, so going back to the errors, and let's try to change one of it. And let's see which one, the text, you'll see that. Okay, let's try to go for the color there. And that will just give us in the back. I'm gonna go to inspect. You can also use it from tab, as you see. I mean, right click from your mouse or the pad you're using. And it's easy to check where, the example, the form is. You see the background is a lighter one. I'm gonna go for something dark, definitely not looking the same, but this is a rough, very raw example. So please bear with me, don't criticize my choices in design. This is not a UX presentation. I'm gonna go back in the accessibility tab and do this run again, all issues. As you can see, none of the color contrast one are appearing. Of course, learning more, as I mentioned, in the MDM pages or other resources you find online, it's definitely not just on the Mozilla side, everywhere else, you can easily learn which is the best contrast, and also use tools that will show you alternative. If your logo of the product you have has certain color, you can easily find a pair for it that will be accessible, correct, from standard point of view. Okay, stop sharing the this little demo that I had and going back to our presentation. And definitely, probably I should share it again with you guys. And here it is, not in full screen because I cannot see you. And we are back with the presentation. Of course, I prepared something offline. You never can trust the internet, but in cases that we have now conferences from home, if the internet doesn't work well, neither the video is. But doing this for so long, I do have all the time backups for my demo side or things that I want to show. Okay, these are the same that I showed you in the little demo. I did change the type. You see here other, other things that you can learn. In the website that we have created for demos, we have other things that came new, implemented in the last quarter, probably even half of the year in Firefox. I don't preach only for Firefox. I do work a lot with it. It is my favorite. But again, if you are into other browsers, please check the panel that they have for accessibility there. I did mention here some other tools that you can use. And for example, Lighthouse is from Google. It's very easy to do applications with it. It literally scans everything you have, or web apps. It scans everything also and gives you results that you can work with to improve your page. JAWS, Orca, everything it's related to voiceover. One thing that I will ask you after this talk is to try to navigate through your product with voice. It's still really, really hard for me to do it. And WebHints.io does give you links to learn more about each specific issue on the accessibility side. And you will say, like, how on earth did you get this? So while working on this desk, oh wait, that's not my desk. I don't work for NASA, it's a mistake. So while working at my desk again, which it looks cuter and I miss it a bit, on 3 different browsers, 3 different operating system, and also mobile, as mentioned, I work on it. I saw so many differences in the contrast field and the colors that they use. The monitors were not mismatched by intention because I was looking for it. When they gave me a laptop for home, I literally said, I have an Ubuntu at work, I have a Mac personally, so give me a Windows machine so I can always compare our products within all operating systems. I know it's a lot of work back then, and if you have an iPhone, you definitely love a Mac, and that's it, you're in the Apple ecosystem, but try to, again, maybe consider that your users have different environments and try their experience. That will be my call for you after the talk. I did link here more about accessibility. I think you can request the slides from pw@softvision.com, or if not, this was also run at FOSDEM this spring before everything closed I'm very happy I had a chance to speak to almost, I don't know, 150 developers from the QA side. It was a bit fun, right? And don't be the sheep, be the wolf, including if you use Firefox, you can always be a fox, and it's nice. Be the example and fight for those who have a smaller voice or less accessible access to the internet. The power of the web is in universe, accessed by everyone, regardless of their disability, is an essential aspect. This quote comes from the inventor of the internet, the 3 W's, and literally motivates me to be honest with everyone and giving a fair experience. If you want to learn more about the work on accessibility side of what we do at Cognizant Softvision, I do invite you to write me a mail or try to reach me on Twitter, and I will be happily to reply to your questions. I do gonna take now, but after, when you try some of the tools I show you, if you have questions for it or more details, a need for more details, do let me know. Okie dokie. Time for questions, and I don't see anyone entering. I see a bit of chatty stuff. Let's see. It's very awkward when you share your screen with Zoom. You only see a bar that's going up and down, up and down. Okay. Thanks, Dean. And going to the question, you mentioned images. Not all images convey relevant information to sighted users. As long as they aren't set in the CSS as background, should purely decorative images have empty alternative text value? No. It's very hard, and I tested this with Twitter too. Nowadays, when you share an image on Twitter, you can go to advanced settings for each tweet. It's a bit of a work, extra work, but you can set an alternative text for everyone. And I did every picture, and I did see a lot of them, and it's confusing sometimes, but at least, again, in my experience, you see something. You can address the elephant on the page that you do not see, but you know it exists. I would definitely not use space. I would definitely not leave an empty space there. I mean, even as little as this should be a decorative image displayed, or this represents a mountain in full blossom with full blossom trees would be nice. But again, if you don't want to be creative on description, just mentioning that is a image that should be loaded will be nice. In my cases, most of the times I do not see anything, especially because I have the ad blockers installed, and they by default take everything out that's tricky, ads and stuff, and sometimes misunderstand tags, and I just don't get anything, and it's frustrating because you're looking for a video or something as a demo and you don't see it because of that, and you don't have any hint that you are missing. And for me, my opinion is about those pages that are definitely buggy and not good, and I would never recommend someone to read such tutorials or demos or anything. So I'll definitely add something. Thanks for your question. Any last questions? I will take that as a no. Again, you can always reach me at my email, ioana.kioyan@softvision.com, or on Twitter if you're social there. Thanks so much for being here, and happy Programmers Week.